Hello, Illumineers, and welcome back to another episode of Limited Quackdown, a Snuggly Duckling podcast. I'm Joe, joined on the line as always by MooMan Joe and Jimmy. We're ready to get into the recaps of our pre-release. Everyone's got a little bit of Winterspell under their belts, and we're ready to get into it. First off, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Matified, recent sponsor addition to Team Snuggly Duckling. If you want to see some of the nicest foiled out mats for all of your favorite TCGs, go over to Matified, and please, of course, tell them that Team Snuggly Duckling sent you their way. Let's shoot around the horn real quick and see how everybody's week in Lorcana was. MooMan, how was your Lorcana week?
I just actually got back from some testing for set 11. I've got a pretty sizable tournament in Arkansas on Saturday through Lucky Llama Gaming, and so I'm not very confident right now, but I'm looking forward to that. And then I'll be heading down to New Orleans to test with Jimmy and some other people for CCS for the beginning of March, but pushing set 10 behind and getting excited for set 11 to actually play Core Constructed, and had some fun with Sealed over this past weekend, and yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
Very cool. Jimmy, how was your week?
Yeah, it was great. Had a nice holiday down here, so I had a 4-day weekend.
Mardi
got
Gras.
Nice.
Got to play in one of the pre-release sealeds. It was surprisingly we had 16 people, which was huge. It was capped out
That's
at the small store. Yeah, it was awesome. And then I've been playing a little bit, testing a little bit online. Been mostly grinding some Amber Steel aggro. Seems to be okay so far.
Very cool. Yeah, my week was spent doing pre-release. We unfortunately only had 6 people show up, and we decided amongst ourselves we were going to do a little draft instead of a sealed. So we got an early look at the draft format in a small pod. Had a lot of fun. Had a pretty good deck, and also getting ready for a big tournament this weekend. We've got a 5Ks at Triad Gaming on Saturday. I believe they'll be streaming it. I think they're actually bringing in Liam to do some commentary from afar. So looking forward to sleeving up some blurble cards and getting back into core. Yeah, it should be a good time. They're trying to fill the role left by another big store that was vacated down here in the middle of last year. So Triad put on a really nice event for the Whispers release, and looking forward to another nice event this weekend. So before we get into our full pre-release recap, so this is episode 4. We're going to be spending today talking a lot about our pre-releases, digging into each other's sealed decks, seeing where we were similar, where we were different, and trying to come to a consensus on what the best builds would be. But before we do that, we're going to jump into a quick little pack cracking edition, where we're going to go through a pack, talk about the different cards inside, and try to settle on what we think would be the best pack one, pick one for each of the packs. So, Jimmy, you want to get us started with your pack?
Yeah, let me see if I can switch this layout. Oh, bro. How do I switch who's? Nope.
There we go. So on mine it shows that you're the big one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to show the big one of whoever's speaking.
Okay.
That makes
All right.
sense.
Well, let's see what we got here. All right. So I can read this backwards. We got Sarabi. Is that swordplay?
Yep.
What
Snowball fight?
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Piglet?
Nope.
That the Persevine? Yeah.
Naveen, yep.
Taurus?
Is that the 5/3?
Yeah, the Fire's Taurus. Oh, Mushu. That's a good one. 2-drop Anna. Lonely Grave. 2-drop Pocahontas. We got a Tinkerbell.
Nice.
Oh, and what is this? An
Fancy
epic Mushu.
epic.
So we're obviously taking the epic Mushu over the regular Mushu. But that is definitely the first pick for me.
You want to fan that one back out again?
Yeah. See.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be immediately attracted to Tinkerbell as the legendary, but that is almost just a 3/3 for 3 without a lot of other text on it. That's a tough card to play.
We had a really interesting situation at our release, actually, where someone got a Tinkerbell and the 4-drop Bambi. Is it the 4-drop Bambi that boosts? And she was using that to fill up her hand to have the Tinkerbell consistently questing for more, and that was super interesting. Because if you can't take out the Bambi, because she was playing Mother's Necklace, which generally would be a bad card, but she was just like, I have a 3/5 with evasive, and I'm gonna keep on adding cards to my hand by questing with this Bambi, and she was consistently questing for 4 with that Tinkerbell.
Keeping it evasive, keeping the quest points high.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice combo.
I thought it was crazy. I was like, what are you supposed to do with this? Like,
Yeah, I didn't even know the Mother's Necklace card wasn't on my radar at all. And then when my son and I were playing Sealed with some pools over the weekend, he's like, "Oh, someone played this against me on Friday night, and it was really good." I was like, I don't know, but I guess it does have its applications." Yeah, I'm with you. I think I kind of like the Mushu there as well. You get the 3 quest points, you get the 2 damage on play.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Tinkerbell, so it would never be in consideration. Pocahontas would be in consideration later in the draft, but definitely not first pick. Like, so I'm mostly looking at these 4, which is Sarabi, Prince Naveen, Mushu, and Taurus, just depending on where at the draft I am. I think these are like the top 4 for me.
Yep.
And just what
Yeah,
what slots I need to fill.
I could even see
Definitely.
picking Sarabi first. I might pick Sarabi first, but you guys know how I feel about the neg powers.
Yep. Yeah, Sarabi's a good pick. I like Naveen just because it's a giant body. That's actually kind of a tough pick. There's no like A card that really jumps out of that pack.
Yeah.
So I think
mean,
either of those.
you're gonna be taking the Epic just because
Yeah,
it's the best looking card.
Take,
you know,
take
it's
the
worth
value.
Take the value.
Excellent.
And it's a solid card.
All $3 worth.
Yep. if even. If even. All right. So I think we're all kind of settled on the Mushu there. It's probably maybe not clear, but definitely a good card to start your draft with. All right, let's get into one more that I have. All right, let's see. We've got Squeaks. We got an evasive. Is that the
Zootopia?
Yep. Nala. Distract. Prince Naveen. This is a very similar pack. Taurus. We've got Nani. Daisy. Flit. It's the one that the Gravedigger. Yeah. Widow Tweed.
And a first pick.
Launchpad. Oh, did I miss a rare? A Willow Tweed is a rare. And a Launchpad. Yeah, I think this is kind of a windmill slam for Elsa here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, just take the let it go. Though when I first was rating the Widow Tweed, I did not read I could get back anything. I thought I could only get back Todd's. So
gotcha.
it is way better than I thought it is.
Todd's you just get to play for free.
Yeah.
I think with it. But yeah, bringing back anything is nice. Someone played Nani against me and they tried to put a Stitch into their hand. I was like, no, the card's not that good.
No.
If Let It Go's not here, I think I might like the Nala as a good 2-drop. Maybe the Squeaks as an evasive 2-drop. And again, Naveen just for the beef. But I think Let It Go is just a pretty quick and obvious pick out of that pack.
Right.
Yeah, the Daisy could be a pick too at some point.
For sure, if you have some good bodyguards to protect it.
Yeah.
Bodyguards did seem to be kind of not plentiful, but they were there.
I will say, what was I can't remember what the foil card's name is at the back. If you
Launchpad.
That was Launchpad.
So if you went
with
Darkwing,
I would say if you decided to go super hard into Darkwing Duck and maybe the Terror that flaps, that might be a good pack 2 at the end or pack 3 at the end where you're solidifying out your Darkwing deck, but.
Definitely, and there's enough Darkwing cards that, to even play the 3-drop rush and then tap that to draw a card on turn 3 is nice. All right, so that was a couple of packs. We've got one of a little bit tougher pick and one that was a pretty easy windmill. So next we're going to get into our pre-release recap. So like I said, we decided amongst ourselves to do a draft instead. My draft deck turned out pretty nicely. I don't think we have the image of the draft deck, but it had a solid curve. I had a lot of good evasive cards. I went to the late game a bunch, but did come away with a 3-0. I had a game that I almost lost to this mythical aggro deck where the guy just played all 2 and 3 questers. But the MVP of that game turned out to be the Scrooge McDuck, the 4-cost uninkable, where when he quests, you draw a card and they lose a lore. And I was able to protect that card with bodyguards enough times where I think I might have drained him for 4 or 5 lore over the course of the game. And that definitely ended up being the difference maker in a tough second round. Jimmy, how was your pre-release?
My pre-release went well. I ended up 3-1. I lost in the last round to end up getting third instead of first. And his deck was really good too. So I helped him build it afterwards or before. And but he opened 3 of the 5-drop Goofy.
Untap, the one that readies your character?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
then he had 1 Daisy, 1 Percy, a bunch of other 2 questers. So like when he first built it, I was like, just take out all this top end. So I took out like a 6-drop Mickey Mouse. I took out a Space Cow, and I ended up making his curve into 6. And so he stopped at the Mickey Mouse to make you discard
when it comes in and when it leaves.
Yeah,
yep.
That was his high end. And then he had double uninkable 2-drop Scrooge, which was absolutely great. That was the most overperforming card from my deck too.
Nice. I haven't got to play with that card yet.
Yeah, I lost a tough one in game 3 to him. I had Tigger in hand. I needed him to draw a 1 or 2-drop, which I knew he had like 9 in his deck. Mm-hmm. And he drew 3-drop, 3-drop, 3-drop all 3 turns.
Oh,
I just needed one turn because he was to be able to take the lead on the Lord race.
Oof. Well, 3-1 is still nothing to scoff at. It sounds like you lost to yourself, you know? Sometimes it's one of those times where you kick yourself, you're like, oh, if only I had put a couple of unplayables in there. But that's why people trust us to help them build their decks. Joe, how was yours?
So we had a pre-release on Sunday, and we ended up doing sealed pools. I ended up 2-1, but I was nice guy Joe, and I let my opponent, she was a friend of mine, I let her take back a play that she made because she didn't realize one of my characters had damage on it. And so she reevaluated her turn based off of that knowledge because she just didn't realize it. And it caused me to lose the game in the best of 3. And then she actually ended up winning out the tournament for the next round. So if I had just not said anything, then she would have lost the next turn. But I didn't want to lose because she didn't notice the character had damage. And so nice guy Joe missed out on her prize packs had an enchanted Ohana means family too. So it's okay. I didn't want it. No, but it was a fun event. It was this close, and I'm glad that I didn't take a win because she just didn't notice that it had damage. So but yeah, I still had fun. There were a couple really interesting situations in my pool, and I actually added a photo to show you guys later for something that really should not have happened in a game of Lorcana. At least for sealed, it shouldn't have happened in a sealed game, but I'll explain it when we get to that point in the slide.
Yeah, and that's really the nice thing about pre-release is the opportunity to play at a more casual level, where takebacks are okay. Everyone's kind of looking at the cards for the first time, and you read the cards and you get a feel for them, but then to actually see them in play. And even though this wasn't necessarily knowing what the card did, but just noticing a damage, it's nice to have people leave the pre-release with a good feeling. It makes everyone want to come back and keep playing.
Exactly.
All right. So that was how we did. Let's dive into these pools then and see how we built and where our opinions differed on these. All right. So this was a sealed deck I built. Like I said, we did a draft for ours, but my son and I cracked a couple of pools just to play some sealed at home. My pool was a little lackluster, I thought. I ended up losing. We played a match. I ended up losing 2-1. He had the Alice uncommon that let him draw like 3 cards at one point, and he had the 4-drop. I never saw my 4-drop exert to draw cards. And he saw his in a couple of games, and he just outcarded me in the couple of games that he won. The pool, yeah, like I said, overall kind of medium. The better cards in the pool would be probably the Slushy, the Pete. The Todd Rare was nice with the Todd Shift. Isis was an overperformer for me. We knew that tapping is good, but tapping on 4 and being able to tap down some of the powerful boost cards before they get a chance to before they really get a chance to shine, was very powerful.
I know that you only played the couple of games, but did this Minnie Mouse here end up drawing a card or getting a boost or?
No, the timing never worked out. She ended up being inked most of the time. Really wanted to see that happen. Using that with Pete seemed like it would be amazing. I don't think I saw Pete ever either, so it was a quick 3 games. He outcarded me and beat me down pretty fast. All
Yeah,
right, so
yeah.
let's
Looking at
dive
your
in.
pool, it definitely felt pretty lackluster.
Yeah. I'm glad that the packs I cracked when we did our draft were a little bit better than this. You guys definitely had the superior sealed pools. All right, so let's dive in. I think we have this broken down now. We're gonna go ink slot by ink slot to see what I included, and then what Jimmy and Joe included at that spot, or what they would have done a little bit differently. And we're gonna go cost by cost through the decks and see where the differences are. So I had included Todd primarily as the shift target for the 7-drop, Hercules as a card that I don't know how impressed I was by this card. I would consider probably leaving it out again. And then I forget what that card's name is. Cena. Yeah, just as a 1-drop that can take out some evasive threats. I thought it was worth the include. Jimmy, I see you included a couple of different cards.
Yeah, so I went away from the Hercules because I took a bunch of your top end out and wanted to make it a little more aggressive. So I added the Darkwing for the Terror that Flaps in the Night, the Tiny Tim's Crutch for you had the 2-drop Mulan, and the Winterspell just to cycle through to try to find the shift for Todd or something I needed.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a couple people in some Discords building decks with the Winterspell. I was kind of off of a card to just pay 1 to draw a card, but I understand where you're getting at to try and get to that big Todd and trying to take that more aggressive slant with a little bit of a lackluster pool.
Yeah, and I included the Todd for the shift as well. I didn't actually get to play a Hercules in my list, but I thought it would be a decent filler because I don't think I put in a couple of the higher end cards you guys did when we get there. And then the Tiny Tim's Crutch was also for that 2-drop Mulan. I think I may have needed to put in the Winter Spell because I'm pretty sure I put in at least one location for you as well, and I feel like it might have been cheeky to make it so that that location couldn't have gotten challenged. So I see the reasoning for the Winter Spell, but I just didn't end up putting it in.
Right. And then we're on to the 2-drops. I included, I think all of these cards were pretty easy includes. The White Rabbit I had in my draft deck as well. The underdog of that card was really nice. The couple games I was on the draw and happened to have it in my opener. Playing a 2/2 evasive on the first turn feels pretty good.
It looks
I
like
see.
the only difference
Go ahead.
between all of our cards is Jimmy and I decided on this Hey Hey, and you two decided on this Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, I had stayed away from the Hey Hey. Just I like the cards that come back when you challenge and they're banished. But like we discussed during the set review, so many of these cards are so big that I didn't want to have to just keep dumping the 2 ink into it. But again, with the lower curve that you guys were trying to go versus me, I understand including the Hey Hey there. And with the Tiny Tim's Crutch also, which I had not included in my deck. And you guys both have the Mulan, which I was not all that thrilled about, but again, comboing with the Crutch. I was trying not to rely too much on 2-card combos, in case, just in case. And instead opted for like the Darkwing where you're just getting the power immediately.
That's fair.
Yep. No, definitely took a more risky line with your deck because it felt lackluster.
Yeah, there were. I think this list had the did it have the Rockstar Lilo, and so I was
Yes.
I was thinking, okay, even if she's not good early, maybe she can be good later if I'm able to quest with a Rockstar Lilo. But I think I went a little bit more cheeky on your list because of the cards that I had to choose from them.
Yeah, I think this was a good list to get cheeky with because of the lack of power. you guys were probably right to include the Lilo. I was kind of off that card because I just don't want to have generally that many 2-drops in my deck. I want to have one to play on turn 2 and then, hope to ink the rest of them. So I generally wouldn't plan on having the 2s to get back, but as you guys, I'm kind of buying into what you guys are saying of having, with the shortfalls of the deck or with the pool to be able to have some recursion late. So that'll take us, I think, onto the 3s. We have fairly similar choices here. You guys both included the evasive location. I didn't feel like I really had quite enough evasives to make it work, but again, with trying to lean more aggressive, it's probably a decent include here. The real questions I would have are, Jimmy, why did you leave out the loot and include the Nani?
Because I added all the extra 2-drops was the reason for the Nani. I think I was running 8 2-drops, so it means pretty high percentage chance that she's going to hit. And then the loot, I just didn't want the uninkable. I felt like if I'm at that point of the game where I'm activating loot, I've already lost.
The loot is an idea for a late game card. I understand where you're coming from. I think when we look at my pool, you'll see that there are a couple cards that I ended up not playing just to cut down on uninkables, where it's like I can see where it can be good, but I just didn't feel like I could run that many uninkables.
Yeah, your pool was thick with uninkables for sure. When I made my first rundown of your deck, I think there were like 12, and I was like, oh man,
I
you
think
got glutted.
between rounds 1 and 2, so actually maybe you guys can verify this, because the way that we interpreted the rules, you can change your deck at any time during the event. That's correct?
For a pre-release,
Yeah, for a
why
pre-release.
not? Yeah.
We just weren't sure because you can for Magic, but we weren't entirely sure for Lorcana, and it wasn't actually specified that it said the pool you have has to be submitted, but it didn't say you had to play the same list between rounds. So actually between rounds 1 and 2, I removed 2 uninkables for 2 inkables, just because I got I couldn't ink up to 5 in my first round in my first game. So
Okay. I'm curious about your include of the Scrooge there.
We know my feelings with the
shrinking
the shrinking. I value the shrink a lot. It's almost, for me, it's like reverse support. So if you can use support to challenge up, you can use the shrink to challenge more favorably. And so that was just my thought.
Okay. Yeah, totally makes sense. I was just scared of it as a kind of understated uninkable at that spot.
That's fair.
All right, on to the 4s. The 4s, it looks like we are almost completely in step here.
The only thing I didn't put was the Tigger, and with the way we've just talked about the 2s and the reasoning I had before, I should have put the Tigger in.
Yep.
And then I think that's the
yeah. That's
and
the
you
only
didn't have the
difference.
Mulan.
I didn't put the Mulan in either. I don't remember entirely why I didn't put the Mulan. I think it may have been a better choice over something like the Scrooge, just because it is a 3-drop. But I don't know. Maybe I just don't like this card. I don't know. Something about it just doesn't feel right to me. But it seems better than I thought looking at it on this page compared to the things we've already looked at. So maybe I'd switch a card or two around for the Mulan.
Yeah, I had played it in the draft on Friday, and there was a turn where I actually played it for 2, and that felt so super nice. I think generally you're going to be able to play that card for 3, because there's going to be characters on your side generally that are going to have a damage on them in the mid game. And it's a well-statted card for 3 at a 4/3 with 2 lore.
Yeah, your 4s were actually
Really,
very
good.
strong, yeah. And so that's one thing that's like, you may not have had the best pool for some of the higher end stuff, but your mid game was nuts.
Yep. Yeah, education or elimination overperformed for me as well. I had that in my draft deck also, and the giving something evasive for a turn with the extra lore and drawing a card, it's just like ice cream with cake and whipped cream and a cherry.
One interesting situation that came up in a game was So the way that this card is worded, we weren't entirely sure if that lore would also go to the start of their next turn, just because it's worded chosen character gets +1 lore and gains evasive until the start of the next turn. I didn't
I would
know
assume
if
it does.
it does, yeah, and it made a difference between a choice for my opponent with a 2-drop Pocahontas that I had, because it would make my Pocahontas be able to quest for an additional. It was another one of those situations with the Mother's Necklace where she's wanting to give the evasive to the larger character, and she ended up having to split it so that I couldn't gain as much lore off of Pocahontas. So that was just
Interesting.
an interesting rules situation where I could see where this wording would only get the evasive until the start of the next turn, but it gets both. So that it's just a little bit of a cheeky thing if this card becomes popular with the Pocahontas in core.
Very cool. All right. On to the 5s. All right. Looks like Moo and I were pretty similar. Jimmy, you opted to leave a couple of these cards out, kind of keeping that curve low.
I think that the only two differences for you and I were Cobra and the copper here.
And I'm curious at you then not including the copper 1 that was in the pool for the
Yeah.
shift.
Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
I think one of the difficult parts of doing it the way that we did was I'm more of a hands-on learner, and so I think being able to see the cards in person would have helped me see those things a little bit better. So I probably should have played the 1-drop copper to be able to shift this. I did notice that you had a number of evasives like the squeaks, and so that was my reasoning of putting this over the Cobra, because maybe you might get a couple lore from those evasives that you have. But I agree, I probably should have put the 1-drop Cooper or Copper.
Okay. And then Jimmy, you left out Taryn in favor of Cobra, I'm guessing, at that 5 uninkable spot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's right, but I like the ability to protect a little bit better. Or
Okay.
to, yeah, make
Yeah,
they
forcing
can't challenge.
something to quest so they
Yeah.
can't challenge. Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
the rush. I like the rush a lot. It always almost always 2 for 1 for me.
That's a big body to be rushing in with. I don't know how relevant the putting the 2 cards on the bottom could be in this format.
I had one in my
Unless
pool, and the only thing I can think of is maybe trying to
the
get
tweed.
a tweed or a cheeky on a shift if possible, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
But other than that, I always just
Yeah.
told him I'm just gonna skip the trigger.
Yeah, like I was running Fangmire in my sealed, so like they could definitely get some detectives out of my yard.
Detectives.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
That's fair.
Nice. All right. I think the rest of that's pretty straightforward. Pete, probably the best, one of the, if not the best, one of the 3 best cards in the pool. McHorn overperformed
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
he's so
Friday
good.
night
He
and
was
in the sealed.
very strong for me, McHorn.
Yep. And the Donald Duck, just in case you have a snow fort you need to handle.
Yep.
All right. We'll take it to the 6s. And we're a little off here. We all have the Mickey Mouse. We've got a couple of Pumbas and a couple of Lilos. Yeah, like I said, I just was off the Lilo because I don't really want to have that many 2s in play to end up in my discard. But with the volume of 2s you guys are playing in the more aggro lean, it definitely makes sense with the builds you guys are going for.
Another thought that I had was if you're playing a 2, then you may you'll probably get that 2 at some point. So like even if you're just playing 1/2 on 2, you could always just get that back as some value.
That's fair.
And so, or even a 1-drop. But my thought was that it was a little bit of push at the end. It puts another character into play that's readied. But it's definitely a build around card.
Yeah, and I mean,
having
it's
the
inkable.
2-drop evasives also was
Mm.
with a big lean.
I think it
I would
probably would have
definitely
been
give it more consideration in the future.
probably would have been really nuts with the 2-drop Pocahontas too if you had happened to get it, because then that drops down and it ends up giving you 3 lore if it survives and the Lilo survives, and the body isn't terrible, but no.
Yeah, no, I totally see where you guys are going with it, and I should definitely have looked harder at it, even if it just gets the 1 card back. I was just looking for too much upside that even a little bit of bonus is good.
sevens.
Sevens. Yeah, we all have the Todd, probably again in the top 3, just a giant evasive character. You're not really getting to ready it and get the extra quest out of it. And I included the Chiempo, just as a 3-quester, 7/7. It's going to take multiple characters on the opponent's side to banish this. And anything that quests for 3 at this size, you're probably going to get a couple quests in with it, or they're going to have to put 2 or 3 characters into it.
No 8s were played. And then we all
Eeyore.
decided on the Eeyore. Did this
Yeah.
did you get to play this for significant value at any time? I mean,
Nope, it was ink all 3 games.
always ink. Okay.
Yeah, it ended up in my opener, so it was a very easy turn 1 ink.
It's one of those cards where if you do the entire turn and this is the last thing you do, it feels like it could be pretty decent, maybe at 3 or 4 cost, but definitely not the easiest thing to play around.
Yep. Yeah, so this deck, like I said, went 1-2 in the 1 round I played against my son, whose deck was significantly better than mine. I felt pretty good to get the 1 game, actually, and I'm glad I didn't have to actually take this deck to battle at a pre-release. All right, so that will take us to the next pool, and that is...
Give me 1 second.
And yeah, we'll put the link to all the pools in the description, and then the link to all the decks too. So if you want to pause before we go over the next 2, you can build out one of the pool and see how he compared to ours.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of decisions to be made. I actually thought that our decks were going to end up being way more similar than they ended up being, and it's really interesting to hear the different takes on the build.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the actual Joe's final build, so I didn't get a count. But for mine and yours, like, we were 8 cards different on your build and 6 cards different on my build.
Yep. But I totally understand where you were coming from and why ours would be so different, why our decks would end up being so different on my pool with the angles taken. All right, so next up, I think we have Jimmy's.
Yep. What I did was I just copied the deck at the beginning and the end so that we could take one look at it after we look at his pool. I didn't have that.
Okay.
So now we can do a recap at the end.
Awesome. All right, Jimmy, take us through your deck.
Yeah. So let's see. It's pretty. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what the overperform. I'll start with the overperformers. 2-drop Scrooge, the 3-drop 5/3s, those overperformed. Spin was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. And so was Grab Your Bow. Grab Your Bow won me multiple games, which I did not expect, being on how, like, we're playing 3-drop 5/3s, and Grab Your Bow's winning me multiple games. It seems kind of strange, but it did.
Did this Belle do well, or did she kind of...
I only got to play her once, and I was so far ahead in the game it didn't matter. Same thing with Lilo. The only time I got to play Lilo was the turn right before I won. It didn't matter what character I had.
Mm-hmm.
The 6-drop Copper was really good. He definitely went 2 for 1s each time.
2 lumpies.
Yeah, lumpies.
Yeah. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Oh no! The real elephant in the room is that Jimmy ran 41 cards.
I did run 41 cards.
41 cards. So that's what we need to really talk about.
So whenever I build a pool, how I do it is I go cost by cost, and I take out the cards that are 100% in, and then I put up the maybes and I put the ones I'm never going to play. And so then I had 30 cards. And I counted out 10 and added 10, and somehow I had 41. So I miscounted somewhere. I don't know where I miscounted.
So you said you did. So realistically, you didn't even realize you had the 41. It was
not until I.
You just sleeved it all up, and then when you were making this deck on Dreamborn, you said,
yes.
"Wait, I have 41 cards."
That's exactly what
really
happened.
Funny.
All right, so if you had to cut one of these cards, if you were strictly sticking to 40, what would the 41st card here be?
Oh, it was probably be Flit. I think. He did come into play once. Piglet was relevant once. Actually, David wasn't very relevant.
Just too small ball for the bodyguard.
Yeah, it didn't really do anything. He was just going to get ran over.
Too many 5/3s.
Like I didn't even play him as a bodyguard. The few times I played him, I was like, whatever. I'll get the lore off him next time.
Right.
All right. Yeah, this looks like a very, very solid sealed deck. You have
the
good
Alice's.
evasives, you've got rushes, you've got ways to draw cards, you have removal. This seems very solid.
The only thing that I noticed that seems a little bit rough is that you have essentially one, because you're probably not questing with the goof. You have 1 2-quester on turns 1 through 3, and then you have a couple 4. So it seems like you have more of a grindy match, but your characters have decent effects to deal with getting to those 2-questers.
Yeah, all my games where I'm on the edge of my seat, I take control and then I win.
Right.
Yeah, round 1. I don't know how I won this game. He had to have made a mistake somewhere, but I'm not sure where it was. But he went 3-drop Genie, 4-drop Todd, and then on one turn he went Pocahontas, shift Pocahontas to quest for 7 with the Todd and the Genie.
Oh no!
And you won
and
this
I
game?
won that game.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Got to take down a couple things.
Nice. Yeah, that Scrooge card from what I've been reading.
And I had to grab your bow to get rid of the Todd, plus something else he played the next turn.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
I think I may have underestimated grab your bow, especially because you can have all of the ideas for what's good or that or bad or whatever, and then your opponent's just going to play a bunch of 1 and 2 drops, and you're like, well, they have 5 characters, and I wish I had that grab your bow. Like,
yeah, killing multiple Percys, saving that 3 lore is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting rid of
kills the Daisy too.
Yeah, I got rid of a couple of the support minis that would have been bad for me on the quest.
Yeah, anytime you can sing a 2-for-1, I think is definitely worth an include. All right, so let's dive in. At the ones, we all like the crutch. Jimmy included the flit, but as the 41st card, he probably shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, probably not.
Easy
all right,
peasy.
on to the 2s. All right, Jimmy.
Let's see. Yeah, I think Hey was a little bit of difference, and you had the.
I didn't have
the John Smith,
and I didn't have the Scrooge.
You didn't, yeah.
Which, from sounds of it, I probably should have.
But you had the Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Which is something I thought about. Maybe I should have had just to get some extra lore off someone else's character, since none of mine quested for 2.
Right.
Yeah, that'll make your opponent think twice about questing with their 3-quester.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I think all our other 2s are the same. Oh, you didn't have the Judy.
I left Distract out.
Yeah, you left Distract, and Moo left Judy out. Judy was actually relevant on the draw, which I found surprising. But on the play, it was always ink.
That's fair.
Yep.
It was only good on turn 1 on the draw, and that was it.
All right.
Redrop?
Yeah, I guess Distract ends up being nice with the grab your bow also.
Yep.
Just to make sure you can get something good.
I'm pretty sure I never cast the card, but it was there. Let's see what we got for our 3s. Yeah, you guys both are. I noticed this from the our decks. I ran Hey in mine and yours, Joe, and you ran Agnar in both builds.
Like Agnar, I don't know what I'm thinking about that card. It's super mid. Probably should not be making the cut.
I think it's a decent body with the potential of being a 5/4. So when I was looking at this while I was editing, I saw a couple situations where if you had included certain characters, this could be a pretty sizable challenger. But
I think for the most of the time, I'd rather just include the Morgana cards, the 5/3s.
Right.
Yeah. Then you both included Rapunzel, which I left out for unequal counts. Same thing with Pocahontas is the reason. I think I ended up with 6 unequals, and I wanted to keep it there.
I liked the idea of being able to play. So maybe this was more aggro oriented, and and one of the things I was looking at was the 2 questers, and my thought was maybe once you get to the point where you're trying to like quest out after you've controlled the board, this makes it so they can't do favorable trades. And so, but I understand um with the uninkable count trying to take something out.
Yeah, it seemed to be one of the few two questers, and the protection in the late game, like Joe said.
On the force.
Yeah, here, let's see. We basically all had this. You included all the same ones I did, but then you added Maui's,
And then
and you
from
added
there, I added the graveyard.
the graveyard. Yeah, same thing. Maui, the same reason. That there are so many good uninkable cards in this set. It's tough, and so I just chose to I picked the 6 ones I thought were the best, and then I just let it go. I maybe should have ran the Maui and went up to 7 uninkables. I could see that.
I don't know if I would have normally added the graveyard, but from the way that I was able to play it in my version, like in my sealed deck, so I'll have a sad story to tell you when we get to my deck, but I ended up drawing 3 cards off of it. But if the situation happened that if it wouldn't have happened the way that it did, I would have drawn 5 cards off of this. So but I'll get to that when I get to my deck. But that's why I included this graveyard, because it ended up doing really well in my pool.
Yeah, the graveyard was one of the last cuts that I had made. I really wanted to leave it in there. It's a card I'd like to try once, for science, see where it goes, but I don't think generally it'll be an include.
Yeah, I can't remember. Did my pool have 2 Amos?
Um,
I can't remember if this one did, or someone's had 2 Amos, but I don't know whose it was.
Mine had 2 Amos.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember if yours did. If you give me 1 second.
But yeah, all the other were pretty snap includes, in my opinion. The other 4s.
Oh yeah, Alice I had that in my draft deck. It was a great card, advantage card.
But yeah, I was surprised at how many times I got to quest more than once with it.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like something that would immediately get banished once it quests once.
Yeah, we'd just being able to either tinker something or grab your bow or
Get the chief down the next turn.
The chief down, yeah, I've had that play too, or the
Your pool only had 1 Amos.
Okay,
mine was the one that had 2.
Yeah, the chief not being able to challenge, I think, came up for me maybe once because I had him in my draft deck also, where I wished I would have been able to challenge, but throwing down that 5/5 on turn 4 or sometimes on turn 5 to protect the Alice was beautiful.
The threat of discard from Goofy was also real good. Yeah, a couple turns. I got to quest an extra time just because they didn't want to discard that turn.
Right.
One thing I do like is that it doesn't have to be banished on an opposing turn. You can challenge. So it also may stop. I don't know if you just said that. Sorry, my brain fog. But did you just say it stops them from questing?
It stopped them from challenging. I quested with it.
So it also stops them from questing because you can challenge back in, and so
just force that discard.
Definitely an interesting situation where they may not want you to banish it.
Yeah, one of the games, they were at 5 ink with 1 card, and they had the 6-drop Mickey, and they chose to ink it to be able to banish the Goofy instead of to let me quest again and try to draw an inkable to play the Mickey.
Yep. Yeah, because they were probably going to lose it anyway.
Yep.
All right, on to the 5s.
Yeah, and the 5-drops, I didn't run Terran again. Yeah, didn't run 2 rush cards, which is kind of strange, I guess. The Maui and the Terran, but yeah, same thing with the uninkables. I chose to run Fangmire instead to get back the few detectives I had.
Yeah,
just a little extra value.
I didn't see as
many as you. Did you ever get McCorn back?
No, the only I got back the 3-drop Darkwing. That was it.
Okay.
And then we've decided that I should have probably ran Grab Your Bow. All right. Pretty straightforward here on the sixes.
Yeah, the consensus gets a little tighter at the higher in cost where you don't have as many choices and the standouts are a little more standout.
All right. And this might even be a pick where it's like you realize that the room is playing lots of 2 strength things and maybe you add this in between games or take it out between games or something along those lines.
I could definitely see it being sideboarded out if your opponent is like mono 5/3s at 3.
All right.
All right, 6s.
Yeah, 6s, the Lumpies, Copper and Mickey for sure. And then Moo and I ran the Lilo. Yeah, I just wanted just even more, whatever extra card advantage I could get. So that's why I got the Fangmire and the Lilo. Even if they both just get a card, I think it's worth it.
I don't remember what we rated this when we were talking about the set review, but it just felt like decent filler.
Yeah. And like I said, like I only got to play it once and it was in a relevant spot. The other times I drew it early and inked it.
Yeah, definitely feel like I should have included it similarly to my list, where even if you get the one card back, it's worth the include, and it is inkable. So
And then yeah, Chenpo, he's just huge. Like
Joe, why do you hate Chenpo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember what I chose over this. Uh,
Yeah, I figured this deck was gonna be pretty grindy, so I'll probably get to 7. And with
that's
all the
fair.
extra card draw.
All right, and that brings us to the conclusion of Jimmy's deck. Jimmy with the solid 3-1, only losing to a deck you built yourself. So you can't be upset about that.
No. It was a tight,
All
fun
right.
match, though. I was happy.
Nice. All right, so next we will take a look at MooMan Sealed. Joe, walk us through your deck.
So my deck had some interesting cards. I had a number of spells that I believe ended up being pretty decent removal. I had the Isis, the Copper, the Education Elimination, the Terror, the Terran. So I had lots of decent removal. And then I had some pretty strong, at least what I considered pretty strong, standalone cards that worked well together. Like the Pocahontas worked really well with the Genie. Um, and then in addition to that, I had a couple of the Macorns that ended up being like big bodyguards to um like protect some of the things like the genie or the Percy. So I had a pretty solid deck from turn to turn. It wasn't like a really strong mid game or really strong late game. I think almost every turn I had something that I could play that was um impactful. And so I think I had a pretty good spread in my pool. But
Yeah, this deck looks really solid. You have some very powerful cards in here.
I did do another cheeky thing. I played the Elsa just to try and get one of these locations out a little bit earlier, but yeah, we can talk about that when we get to the cards.
You have a ton of 2-questers and 3-questers, and
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I don't know if Pocahontas would always be included, but um there were some situations where this genie was massive. So um
Nice. Did you ever get to live that dream?
yes, I have a photo after the three costs that we could talk about. So,
Sick. All right.
yeah, if you can see something on this page, there's some foreshadowing. And so it'll be really funny when we get to it.
Excellent. All right. Let's dive in then.
Alrighty. So it looks like I included the crutch as my only one drop, and I didn't really value the other one drops, just because I don't know. I don't really like this stitch just because it feels like you have to have it as the only thing to force challenges, and then the Hercules seemed a little bit too slow. Maybe I would have included these if I had less powerful questers, but I just didn't see needing them. And it never really came up too often where I would have won a game if I would have had a one drop.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on the crutch overall after actually getting to play with it? Because I haven't put it into play yet.
I love the crutch since it doesn't have an activation cost. It turns any quest into the possibility of making a more suboptimal character be able to um, take something out. So it's once something is done, or like a character, like a filler character that wouldn't have done too much otherwise, the crutch turns them into a removal spell. So I really like the crutch.
Yeah, the few times I did play it, it was good. The problem with it was figuring out when to play it and when to ink it. Because there were multiple times where I was like, I want to play this, but I need the ink. And like
Right.
I could play it and then try to find the ink from a card draw later on in the game. But yeah, so there's tough choices. Like I'd prefer not to draw it in my opening hand. I prefer to get a little later in the game.
It's also it's a good on the draw card and a good later game card when you're trying to figure out the math. And so I guess it's ink on the play and a 4 or 5 cost when you're trying to play a 3 or 4 cost.
Yeah, it seems good as a surprise too, when your opponent doesn't know it's coming and all of a sudden you have a character that can trade up pretty nicely.
I also think there might be some validity in just throwing it down and scaring your opponent, because now they have to think, okay, at any time one of these characters can challenge into my character, and so they're constantly having to do um, challenging math. So
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm kind of off the Hercules too. After trying it and seeing it in play, on the other side, it's too much investment just to get a 3/3 when you just have 3/3s for 2.
might have been different if it was a boost one, but the boost 2 makes it feel like a 3 cost across 2 turns.
Yeah, I think the only reason I ran it was because of the Morty.
All right, let's check out your 2s.
Alrighty. Looks like everything is pretty similar except for I didn't put the Iduna in, and Joe didn't put the Pocahontas in. Iduna was one of those cards that I cut between rounds 1 and 2 because I had too many uninkables. And so I had her at first, and I ended up removing her. I don't know if it was a 1-for-1 for Splatter Phoenix or if there was another inkable that I put in, but she was one of the ones that I cut because it just didn't feel like she was impactful enough on 2. Because I think she was one of the cards I drew on like turn 3 or 4, and it ended up making it so that I couldn't ink to get to my 5 drop. And so she was one of the cuts that I made.
How was Splatter Phoenix?
Um Splatter Phoenix was fine. It only ever quested for 2. It never quested for more than 2. Um but I remember one game where I dropped it on 1, quested for the 2, and then I think it quested a second time, but that was like the only time just because she didn't have a 1 drop. And so but other than that, it it only ever quested for 2, so it was mostly ink for the rest of the games. But looks like all of the rest are pretty straightforward. Uh, you were saying before that you think you may have included the Pocahontas. You still feel like that might have been a pick that you would make, or are you still not feeling the Pocahontas?
I'm not I'm honestly not sure. I kind of like it actually, realizing now that you have the genie as well. That's just a Mondo combo. It's probably worth the include just on the upside of that.
That happened multiple times throughout the event where the Pocahontas was questing for the same amount as the genie, and the genie would just sit there because there wasn't the best removal for a 3/4, so genie would just not quest until it would gain 5 or 7 lore or something like that.
And then you just double it up with Pocahontas and win.
Yep. Alrighty, on to
I
3
think I'd
drops.
try and
Oh,
include the Iduna then, only because you were playing the evasive location, right?
Yeah.
yes, I was. But I don't remember how many more evasives I had at other counts, but I do have the squeaks as oh, did not mean to click forward on that. Oh, and that's okay, 1 second, sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Pocahontas would still be tough for me. I guess if I took out the Iduna, I'd find a home for the Pocahontas, but your uninkables in your pool there were a lot of them and a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking
it
at it, I'd
was
probably end up rebuilding it a little bit just because I put 8 uninkables in my version. Probably a little
okay.
too many.
I think after the cuts I was at 9. Um but yeah, I started out at 11, I believe, and it was just, yeah, it's just way too many. So
Yeah, I usually end up being pretty greedy right around that 8 or 9 spot, as long as there's enough velocity through my deck, and then I'll mulligan into, just if they're uninkable, they just can't stay in your opener.
right.
Yeah, I had one game I was running because I only ran 6 in my build. where I had 4 uninkables in hand, and I had to draw an inkable off the top. I was like, oh, I didn't draw one of my last 2 uninkables.
Right.
That would be rough. All right, let's take a look at your threes.
So looks like these are all pretty similar. You guys ran the Snow Fort and the Agnar. I ended up running the Game Preserve instead, and then it looks like Joe didn't put in the Percy. But other
And
than
I
that,
left out Mini.
you
Yeah,
left
we
out,
both left out Mini.
and you left out the GG. No, I left out the GG. Sorry. This may
And
have
I
been
left out the Elsa.
this may have been an error for me with editing. I think I did play the GG. Maybe I counted wrong, but I think I did play the GG. So I'm not sure what happened there, but
Yeah, GG's pretty good. I just couldn't see running the Elsa as a 2/2 for 3, even with the 2 quest points. I understand where you're trying to find your locations, but it's just too understated for my taste.
that's fair. I think I inked her every time. I don't think she ever did anything more than be ink, but
Yeah, I ran her just for the 2 quest points. She's basically ink and lets you top deck her late.
right.
And then she's a
You
stand-up
guys like
2
Percy?
quest.
Percy
I
was
like
great.
Percy.
Was great for me. There were multiple times where my 2-drop Nala gave the Percy evasive, so that was always awesome.
Yeah, the
But-
mythical
Really nice.
aggro deck is real.
It did seem to be. It really did.
But here's the next photo. You already saw it, but this was a situation that I had in that game that I ended up losing, where I let her take back the not challenge play because my character she didn't realize it had damage. But this was way significantly earlier in the game. I ended up having to actually challenge with this Morty because I took too long setting this up. But if you looked at my very first photo that showed my deck list, I didn't have a boost character other than this genie. So this Morty was only getting boosted by this genie. And if I didn't get the genie, I just inked the Morty. But I thought it was too much of an upside if I got both of them. Because it'd be pay one ink, gain 2 lore, essentially. And so, but yeah, I didn't have a single another boost character. And so
Just showing a little quick 10, just a quick 10 on the board right there.
maybe
Yeah,
that would have
5 cards under your genie is wild.
because it just sat there. She didn't have anything to deal with it, so I was just like, I think I'll just quest. And that turn that I ended up challenging, I boosted the genie, challenged with the Morty. He didn't die, but or he didn't get banished, but she ended up clearing him, and I was 1 lore away from being able to win on the next turn, and so, but I had to get rid of something of hers, and so it was a very close match, but.
Yeah, my opponent Friday night at our draft had Genie in play. He got a couple cards under it, but that deck had 2 Isis in it, so quick work of the Genie there.
Yeah. Isis in the Isis seems strong. But on the 4 drops. Looks like our numbers are pretty similar here. I ran 1 copy of the Amos. That was the second uninkable that I cut going into round 2, just because I felt like the other cards that I had that were inkable, like he was one of the uninkables that I felt like I needed to cut. I don't remember exactly other cards that I could have considered, but since I already had one, it felt okay to cut the second one. And then I'm playing the Graveyard, but it looks like Jimmy didn't want it. And then looks like
No
Joe
Big
didn't
Mama
want
for
to play
Joe.
the Big Mama, yeah. But-
Yeah, just thought the 3/4 was understated for 4. But 2 lore points, still good. I just don't value Ward very highly for limited.
It's fair.
Yeah, no, same reason. Like I ran the Elsa Big Mama. Like you have so many 2 and 3 questers. Like I felt that you could just turn 10 dudes sideways and you win the game, and you don't have to worry about what that person's doing.
Right.
I definitely want to try the Graveyard.
So I was gonna tell you. So that's right. You reminded me about the situation. So I played this Graveyard on, I think it was turn turn 6 or 7 or 8. It was pretty late in the game, but we were at a stalemate, and I was able to move 5 characters to here. And so I was going to draw, it was either 4 or 5, but I was able to move a pretty substantial number of characters here. And she was playing the purple action that put boosted cards at the bottom of their player's deck. And so she put all of the cards on the bottom of my deck. And I had to read it, and I said, why are you playing this? This is just an ink. I was like, there's
I
such
think it draws
little.
a card, right?
It might draw a card. I don't remember, but it baffled me because I was like, okay, gonna pop this. I'm gonna draw 5 cards. I'm gonna break this stalemate, and I ended up drawing 2 cards, I think, because I think I moved two characters because I was able to play 2 more. Because once you have it, if you don't have another location, you can't trigger it again, and so
Right.
that's one of the downsides of playing it. And I was like, okay, I got 5. She doesn't have enough to take it
You're
out. I
muted.
think. Oh, I'm muted.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Jimmy? Okay. If I'm good, I'm gonna keep
Maybe
talking.
I'm muted.
I don't know. I can hear everybody fine. But it was one of those situations where she got me, and so but yeah,
You got a good story out of a bad card.
right.
Yeah, it does
But-
draw a card. So I mean,
Yeah.
there is. It's not the
Okay.
worst play.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That is rough.
Is it a 1-drop too? So it's kind of
2.
okay. So it's kind of like a 2-drop Winterspell that sometimes gets benefit, and it gave her benefit that game. So got me.
It's got
Man.
that 1% 1% equity.
Yeah. But
Oh,
all right.
shame.
Well, on
All right,
the
on to
on the
5s.
5 drops, yeah. And looks pretty similar here. We all chose both copies of this McHorn, and Jimmy didn't want the Rush Terran again. So
Maybe I just cut uninkables. I was already at 8. I had to cut
Yeah.
something, so I cut the higher ones because if I have uninkables, I'd rather have I think the lower cost ones just to make sure I can play them.
looks like you also switched out the John Smith for Donald Duck.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Another high cost uninkable. This was just a bodyguard for me if it ever came out. I don't think this secondary effect, the spell skite effect, if you're a Magic player, I don't think that ever was significant. It never ended up mattering. But
And that may have been a misclick for me. I don't remember including the John Smith. I think that was one of my last uninkables out.
gotcha.
But
That
it's
may have
probably-
been editing error on my
probably
part,
misclick.
maybe. All right, pretty straightforward there. 6 drops. Looks like we were all on the same board, except for Joe wanted this Pumbaa. I think that was another
Yeah, get
just
that last card out of their hand.
yeah. I think that was just another one of the cards that was uninkable that I cut in favor of something else. Maybe the bodyguard could have been this Pumbaa instead.
Yeah, I think I would have cut the Amos now for either the Terran or the Pumbaa. Looking back.
One of the 2 copies.
Yep.
It was a hard cut. I really wanted to have the alert character, but I had a lot of good uninkables, I think. So
Yeah, Copper overperformed for me in my draft deck on Friday.
I think
Very
I only ever played him once. I think I just never drew him. It wasn't that I inked him early. I just never got him. And then 7 drops. I played the Space Cows, and Joe included the Darkwing as well. But you hyped this card up so much.
I know. I feel bad.
It was the only foil you wanted, and didn't play it. In my case, I opened up 3 foils of this, so you'd be proud. But yeah,
Yeah, I probably should be running it. It's just too good.
it's an easy early ink, and it's a great top deck when you have the 7 already. So that's my thought. And then I feel like that's a similar thing for the Darkwing. I think the Darkwing is exactly the same as the Space Cows, except sometimes it gets value if they have a villain. So
Yeah, and it only has the 2 lore pips.
yeah. Oh, that's fair. The Cows quest is for 3. So
But it does have shift, and we were running the 2-drop Darkwing.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that was one of the ones I didn't put in. So maybe I should have included that to have the shift line possible. Especially at the ward, you're almost always guaranteeing the shift if you get it.
And that Darkwing at a 4 strength 2-drop was nice.
Right. And then it looks like 8 drops. We all just decided on this Jumba. And this guy, I played him almost every game. He always came out. And there was one situation where my Terran, I played him, I rushed into Terran, and then was able to quest to remove all the damage from him. And so this Jumba, that secondary ability was more powerful than I would have expected.
Yeah, I forgot it was there. An opponent played it against me on Friday, and he, at the end of turn, removed damage from his character. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, this card takes all the damage off.
Takes all of it off.
Very strong. All right. So those are the pools. So we've got some actual games under our belt. What are your thoughts overall on this format?
I think there are a lot of cards that overperformed. Cards that I don't think I would have considered that I was forced to play, and I think there's some cheeky situations where, like I said, with the Percy and the Nala, or playing the Tiny Tim just for the genie. It led to some really funny and ultimately strong interactions, and so I think that this format was a lot of fun, and I'll never underestimate that 2-cost action again.
That card is bad. Don't play.
I'm gonna
Don't play that
everyone
card.
play it. Play every copy.
Oof.
I'm just kidding. I was kidding. But it was a
Just
lot of fun.
Up your win percentage by a few points there, recommending that card. Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely like the format. I don't know if it's too much different than previous formats. You know, like I don't think their full limited design has fully hit their stride yet. I think it's all heading in the right direction, and I'm liking it. I definitely like the choices we have to make now with so many good uninkables. It makes deck building fun.
I'm
a little
excited
more
to
challenging.
I'm excited to have the pre-release kits for this next set. That'll definitely be interesting to have something specifically dedicated to limited and pre-releases.
Yeah, having those stamp cards in the pack looks nice. They've already spoiled some of those. They definitely haven't fully tuned these sets for draft yet. There were some packs at the end of our draft where there were 3 or 4 cards where it was unplayable items and some weird locations still. So I'm hoping they get that a little more fine-tuned for the next set as well. But overall, everyone at our event had a blast, and the power level increasing on the cards is really nice. There's definitely more good picks in the packs and some hard decisions to be made in these packs. I feel like some of the earlier sets, the picks were a little bit easier early on. Like there would be like a good card or maybe 2 you'd have to choose between. But some of these packs had, 3 or 4 good pickable cards in them. So
I think your first couple picks each pack, at least possibly your first up to 4 picks could be tough decisions.
And one thing that was one thing that we didn't actually talk about for well, we may have touched on it just a little bit, but for your draft specifically, those last few cuts, how difficult were those to make for having to go down to the 35 or being able to go down to 35?
by the time the draft was over, I had my deck sleeved up. I thought it came together pretty nicely because there were some at the end of the packs. There were still a few cards that were just unplayable. There were cards. I mean, I wish I don't have my pool still anymore with the cuts I had made, but there were a couple cards that would probably have made a 40 card deck that didn't get into the 35, but having the 35 card deck felt way more powerful. You knew you were more likely to see the cards you needed. It went very smoothly. I really enjoyed the 35 card deck. The power level definitely felt increased.
Nice.
Yeah, looking forward to playing some more drafts in the coming weeks.
Yeah, luckily because of the holidays, they pushed one of the pre-release events till this weekend. So I got one more sealed. Maybe I can convince him to do draft though. We'll see.
Good luck. Good luck. And I think we're starting to get some of the people at my local store on board for draft too. One of my good friends and teammates was sitting next to me. He's like, I'm really starting to like play limited more over these last couple events. I was like, yes. All right, converts. We're going to get them all.
Let's do it. Yes.
It's a lot of people, I think Disney Lorcana was the first TCG for a lot of people. So they've only really ever played core because the limited formats have never been pushed very hard. So once you expose more players to limited, we'll definitely have more limited heads on our hands. All right. So I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. I think we had a great episode tonight discussing our sealed pools from our Winterspell pre-releases. We have a cube event coming up at my local store next week, so I'm going to spend this week updating my cube, and I think we're going to bring you an episode next week about cube updates, cube drafts, and dig a little bit deeper into draft formats and review Jimmy's last pre-release and get into a little bit more Winterspell sealed and draft as well. So for Jimmy, for Joe, I'm Joe, and we will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.